inside of Power Hour with me, Donna Moore Wesby. And with the discussion I've already been having with my guest today, trust me when I say this. You talk about power, there's going to be power because the Holy Spirit is already here. This is Donna Moore Wesby inside a brand new segment of Power Hour on your station for inspiration and empowerment information, WAAW Shout 94.7 FM. If this is your first time tuning in, don't let it be your last. This is a beautiful Veterans Day, Thursday, November the 11th. So again, shouts out to all of you veterans from your friends here at WAAW Shout 94.7 FM. We say thank you, and we will keep you lifted up in prayer. Since I just closed out Midday Inspirations in Prayer, and we have a lot to cover during today's Power Hour, I'm actually going to start our topic early. Our guest is in the studio, and she is fired up and truly not ready to go. She going. She has already been putting in the work because faith without action, we know, without those works, it's truly, truly dead. Lorana Hughes is in the building, and we're going to talk about a stool at the table, a sustainable living housing program. If your heart has been bleeding for the homeless, like so many, then you're going to want to hear what is happening right in our own back doors to help address the problem, and maybe you too can be inspired to do something about it. We all have a part to play. And as the Word of God tells us, is basically if you have the skill, if you have the resources to be able to address a problem and you don't, shame on you. And we have so much in this country that we can do. Seems like we can fix the problem of homelessness. Before we get into the topic, I do want to remind you, I had a conversation with the owner of Aiken Personnel Services, and that is Brother Dexter Price. And he has been very, very, very encouraged by the response to the announcements here about the entry-level manufacturing positions that he wanted you all to know about, that is available at Milliken. That is the name of the plant in the Johnston area. And Aiken Personnel Services is an employment business, and Dexter and his company is desperately filling these 45 entry-level positions, but they need you. Starting pay is, check this out, $14 an hour, going up as high as $19 an hour in prior experience. So, for those of you, young people starting out, maybe you're in a transition, maybe you have a passion like photography or something like that, but you need a little income to supplement your passion. Well, this could be a way to do it. Get your full-time job and then work your passion on the weekends or something. That's just an option. And so you definitely want to check into that. Again, shouts out to those of you who have called Aiken Personnel Services to claim your blessing. That's up. That's $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Don't leave that on the table, okay? 803-226-0452. I know, I'm going to say it again. 803-226-0452. Again, for those grandchildren who want to sit and game all day, you better give them these digits. 803-226-0452. Go ahead and claim your blessing, or share the information with a family or a friend, even an enemy. Okay? All right. Joining us in the studio for the very first time with me is a woman I have met not too long ago. Actually, I think it was Last year, I attended a session on how to sustain community programs that was sponsored by the city of Aiken. And Miss Lorana Hughes, my guest here today, was the key facilitator, and I was just in awe of her knowledge, her passion, her depth of just involvement in a lot of community issues. And she is my guest here today. Good afternoon, Ms. Lorana.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving us a reason to invite you, because you are very much hands-on in our communities, doing something about a problem that so many people care about. Before we get into a stool at the table and this housing program, you're just a fascinating young woman. You really, really are. Tell our listeners just a little bit about your background as we prepare the table, so to speak, for today's discussion.
So I've got quite a diverse background. It's a little bit eclectic. I'm a farmer, but I actually am a social scientist. Part of my work has taken me into the business, the nonprofit, and the faith sectors. I worked for about 20 years as a consultant with organizations, churches, community nonprofit organizations, grassroots organizations, and small businesses. And one of the things I realized through that work was that all of them were searching to fix problems.
Yes.
Oftentimes it was one problem at a time. And I started looking for ways to really fix community, realizing that we've got to be doing a lot of things at the same time. That really a mental pursuit. It was just my personal, you fix things, so fix this. What would you do if you were going to fix community? And it became kind of a mental game. And that led me into some areas, food and housing specifically, that became some real integral pieces. It led me to the faith arena. I ended up in seminary trying to figure out this thing called church. How does spiritual work and faith work interplay with fixing community? But I also began to tinker in things like food, growing food, distributing food, looking at the infrastructure for food, looking at the economics of food. I'm a numbers person, so I'm always looking at numbers. But I also got involved in housing. Our values, food, and housing, in the spiritual community, they call these transcendent ideas. Transcendent meaning it affects everyone.
Right.
There's no one that
right.
doesn't have some level of concern about housing, shelter.
That's right.
About food.
There are needs.
And we all live by our values.
Yeah.
And those three things really became a part of this formula, really a idea of repioneering society. What would it take? What are the things we need to be doing collectively,
yes.
all of them at the same time oftentimes, to be able to not only create sustainable community, but there's some regenerative work. In the farming community, there's a lot of talk right now about regenerative work. That means take the situation that we've got and bring it to health, bring it back to health, restore it to health.
Yes.
And then the things that we need to do to be able to sustain that health. So it's a regenerative work, but also a sustainable community work. And my life has become a life work of taking those three pieces and figuring out how we put them together to begin healing our community, starting at the individuals.
Yes,
I think you and I crossed paths at the social first responders training that we did.
It
actually was sponsored by the Southeastern Association for Organic African American Farmers. That's actually who funded that particular project.
Okay.
We were able to partner with the city to be able to offer that here in the community to community organizers and leaders. And so it was a farm organization that understands that farming has much more integral involvement in healing community.
That's right.
And they were willing to entrust me with their funds to be able to offer that here in this community, because that really is my platform. How do we do sustainable change, regenerative change? How do we think outside of the box to rethink solutions to problems that we all know?
Yes.
We don't have to go through the long list of issues that we've got. And in the past 2 years specifically, we've layered some additional issues on top of the issues that we just already had in community.
That's right. And I tell you, the pandemic just magnified some of these issues that were already there. Talk about living a life of purpose. As I listen to your story and I listen to how you have evolved into where you are right now, food and housing, two of our integral needs, and yet we seem to not be able to fix these issues, and we all need them. So, so how were you able to actually find comfort in recognizing that this is a part of your purpose, but it's also very challenging to deal with?
So there's a couple of things. One, realizing it's challenging, that's just life. You know, we see situations and we know it takes a lot of things to fix it. Being honest about that,
Yes.
I think has been the start for me. But part of it comes from a choice. Really cool thing, and I mention it a lot because life has brought me to South Carolina. And South Carolina's motto says, you know, first get your mind right, then get your resources ready. But at the end of it, it says, because if you have breath, there's still hope. And part of my life path with solution creation, it comes from a standpoint that says, I have two choices. Either we're going to crash and burn and that's it, at which case, what difference does it make? Or we're going to crash and burn and we're still going to be here left to figure out how to fix it. Unless we're resolved that there is no hope, then we have to then work towards solutions because we know there's a mess.
Yes.
We know there's messes and fires in our community, and Aiken's community is not much different than a lot of others. There's differences and nuances about this community that make it unique, but we've got some of the same challenges that big and small communities are facing now. And so because I'm not willing to give up hope yet,
Come on, Miss Lorana.
it requires me to say, well, then how are we going to fix it?
That's right.
And so in community, as with life, the same principles work. There's a problem. Okay, if you see it, then perhaps you're a part of figuring out how we fix it. And so it's just a practical response to either I'm going to be hopeless, at which case I don't care what you guys got going on. It's your own mess, do it, crash, burn, whatever the case may be. Or
let's
get our sleeves up,
Yes.
let's get our tools together, and let's figure out what we can do, because anything in that direction is success. Small steps in the forward direction is still progress.
Yes.
Regardless of how fast or slow that progress is, it's still progress. And so whether that's a one-on-one kind of interaction, my interaction with you in one little bitty small energetic way makes a difference. That one little smile, that one kind word to someone just in passing,
Yes.
or whether it's larger kinds of things like community solutions, programs, or even larger things like infrastructure kinds of changes, systematic kinds of infrastructure changes, that is a part of some of the solution work that I've been involved in.
Well, I'll tell you what, just being in the presence of individuals who even care, who have compassion for someone else to roll up their sleeves and do something about it, is the inspiration and the motivation to do something that we need to do and to work together. Because no one organization, no one church, no one individual is going to fix these very big problems that we have. A key word in every discussion since I've met you that has been a part of your conversation is sustainable. Because many people do a lot of things, but it doesn't last. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details of your program, talk about the importance of the word sustainable as we deal with
I'll
problems.
talk about it in context with social service, the things we do in community to help people do things that they can't do on their own. I use food as an example oftentimes. If someone approaches me and they're hungry, we all know the solution. Food is a solution. But because we do sustainable value-based programming, part of the questioning is about whose responsibility it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you think it's my responsibility to feed you and I feed you, I've supported an idea that removes responsibility from you in doing that yourself.
That's called enabling.
If you understand that it's your responsibility to feed yourself and you recognize that you're not capable, for whatever reason, that you can't do that, oftentimes it's goodwill for us as a community to support that.
Mm-hmm.
To support someone who says, I'm doing everything that I can, but I'm still not able
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do this on my own. Would you help me?
Mm.
For community to support someone who's already taking steps in that forward direction,
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
how can we support you move a little bit faster in the direction that you're going? To have a little bit more stable footing in the direction you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens usually is that individual who understands it's their responsibility takes that support. And what I've seen in community programming is those individuals will take a little bit of support, only what they need.
Yeah.
And be able to take that, and there's an exponential yield for the community on that goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative is for someone who thinks it's our responsibility fully as a community to take on things that oftentimes are individual responsibilities. That oftentimes becomes a negative return on the investment.
Right.
It's a giving that the community has to continue to give over and over and over again. And we see that in social service circles.
I think we also, that is one of the divides, I believe, in politics, is that you have a mindset where people feel that enabling is crippling, and therefore they throw in those terms socialism, which in most cases I found people don't even truly understand what socialism is. But then how do you determine the distinction between helping people who are really helping themselves but just need a hand up, and those who still need help because now they brought children into the world but don't feel as if, although they are able-bodied, that it's for them to do. You follow what I'm asking?
So I do, and part of this ties into the multiple layers of issues that we have in community. Because what you're talking about may be some issues that tie into the economics of community.
Mm-hmm.
If an individual is trying to do the best for their family,
Mm-hmm.
and their earning power isn't sufficient to be able to do that well
Yeah.
in our current economic system.
That's right.
And it could be for a whole lot of reasons. It could be issues. We got issues.
Yes.
We got real life issues.
Yes.
It could be education.
Mental health.
It could be mental health. It could be addiction. It could be upbringing.
Yes.
It's trauma, life trauma.
Yes.
Life trauma. And we all have it. We all have it in differing varieties.
That's right.
Under education, underemployment, self-esteem, a lot of different layers. And some of our systems are created or designed that remove things like accountability, things like expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we often hear people rise to the expectation. We hear those things of raising the standard,
Mm-hmm.
raising that rod that's at the minimum. So there's layers of how we address those issues, because it's not so simple. And I think that's what makes fixing things challenging, because there's so many things that are going on all at the same time. It's not one clear-cut answer. And so part of the solution that I see is we have to relearn how to do social service programming,
So that they are sustainable, so that they last.
that they're based on sustainable values, that they're based on sustainable practices, and that we have accountability built into it. That's not been the focus in the social service sector for probably 20 to 30 years. We say it is. We want programs that work, but the way that we offer programming, coming from a consulting standpoint, usually does not have the aspects in it that evaluate the sustainability of the value base,
Right.
They don't evaluate the kinds of accountability points that are put into programming like that. It talks about doing social service in a different way. And part of that is part of the change that I see that we need, that would truly enrich the resources that we already have in communities, many communities that are being stretched even further now.
The Stool, a Stool at the Table, Sustainable Living Housing Program. That's what you're here to enlighten our listeners about today. How did that all come about?
So part of addressing issues, you realize that there's not one solution for everything.
That's right.
But when we start looking at things, and specifically housing and homelessness, we have to start looking at who can be serviced and who are the individuals that the community already has solutions that can provide for.
Okay.
And so this program starts looking at who can we provide solutions for right now? Because there are some situations in our community, individuals who require a much more complicated set
That's right.
of solutions to be able to provide even housing for.
Yes.
It's not just as simple as we've got some housing, let's put them in that.
Right.
And so part of what this program works to address is for individuals who have meager income. They've got to have some income because this is an unsubsidized program. But even before I get there, it starts from a value base that says individuals are responsible for taking care of themselves. That's where we start. That's the value base. It also says that there are some individuals in our community, many who may be on the edge teetering with homelessness, who could be better served in life by having some additional support. Housing, some support. And so this program says we can provide housing and we can provide support. Can we make that affordable? And this program says we can make it affordable for some. So if an individual has a Social Security or disability income, or who is even marginally employed, they'd have enough economic strength to provide for themselves. And so our program, in a way that's affordable, pairs the housing and the life coaching, which is a different modality of approach to helping people. Some people are probably familiar with things like case management, but I'm a real firm believer in the life coaching modality. But it pairs the housing and the life coaching in a way that is affordable. And the way that we do that is we work with homeowners in the community who have rental properties. And those homeowners lease those properties to RePioneering Church, which allows us to use those as program houses in our program. Program houses allow us to pair roommates appropriately, provide the housing and utilities as well as the case management, and we require the individuals pay for that.
Accountability. If there is no stake in the game, then people will tend to not value the opportunity, not value the blessing that's right there at hand. It's very, very fascinating because I'm reminded of the story of the fisherman. You know, if you just give somebody a fish who's hungry, okay, they're going to take it, but then they're going to get hungry again and look for you to provide that. But if you teach them how to fish, then they're sustainable for a lifetime.
Maybe, because we never go to the next step.
Which is?
Now that I've taught you how to fish, and maybe we've helped you get some resources like a fishing pole and some line to be able to fish. If you choose to be hungry, then as a loving community who respects choice,
Yes.
that there are times when we need to allow individuals to make choices and accept the consequences for those choices. I'm a mother of adult children, and there are situations in their growing up where I had to say,
That's right.
nope.
Yep.
And you know how teenagers do. You know, of course they hate you, and you know you're so unreasonable and so unfair. But part of that was because of a vision I had for them as adults.
That's right.
A vision of them being productive, responsible adults at their own house where their mother can come and eat their goodies. And the tough love. Usually people understand it in that context, that doing the accountability, putting those boundaries, healthy boundaries in place, really was how we showed love.
That's right.
To have allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do in a manner that they wanted to do it would not have actually been loving exchange. And so it's like we get into community and all of a sudden we forget these examples that we have in community that do work. And we forget that love looks like accountability.
Yes.
It looks like putting healthy
Yes.
boundaries in place. We get forgetful about that.
Right.
Because part of sustainable value-based programming isn't reinventing the wheel. It's saying we already know how to do this. Why aren't we doing this in community? And so part of this is about saying, let's give them some fish to eat right now, because sometimes you need some nourishment to be able to continue the walk.
That's right.
That's goodwill for community to do that and recognize that. If you're hungry, it is goodwill to feed you. But as we teach you to fish or give you the opportunity to learn, you can say yes or no. If you say no, then as community, we should respect that and pack up our little fishing gear and go on to the next one
the dust off. That's
that would
right.
appreciate that resource. And after that's done, after the proficiency has been determined, because that's goodwill too. It's loving. It would be a lack of compassion to just say, well, go on and fish. There's some fish out there in that pond. Go ahead. Loving compassion says, let me teach you.
Yeah.
Are you willing to learn? Let us help you once you get the knack of it. Would you like to continue to fish? We might even have some fishing poles that we've gotten to be able to help you fish. Now, we expect you not to be hungry. We expect you not to be hungry.
Lord, listeners, I hope you are listening. I hope you are being taught today. We are being taken to school here today because we have an opportunity to not just hear about a program that is working, that has stepped out of the bounds of, oh, I wish somebody would do something, but they're the somebodies. And maybe you will be inspired and motivated to do the same thing and become a part of the solution. And what Miss Lorana Hughes is talking about today is sustainable. We want it to last. We don't want you to go anywhere because we're going to talk more about a stool at the table, this faith-led initiative that is addressing homelessness in our area. And it's actually even deeper than that. And when we come back, we're going to talk about really what is homelessness and what leads to homelessness. Is it a mindset? Is it just the physicality of not having your own dwelling? We're going to talk about all of that and much more. If you have a question or a comment, the phone lines will be open 803-641-6497 or 803-641-6499. Lorana Hughes is here in the building, and I tell you what, she's taking us to school. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're inside of Power Hour with me, Donna Moore Wesby, right here on your station for inspiration and empowerment information, WAAW Shout 94.7.
This is CNN political
Ooh,
commentary.
you are awesome! I knew it was coming. Oh, you are amazing. And I know your kids probably don't appreciate how amazing you are.
They know they've got a quirky mom. It's like, what are you up to next, Mom? What are you up to now?
Yes, yes. Okay, let's see. Get up that commercial.
So whether you suffer from back pain, headaches, neck pain, or even just discomfort of the body, Aiken Chiropractic can help. Give Dr. Dan a call at 803-641-9191 or visit Aiken Chiropractic at 425 Lawrence Street Northwest in Aiken.
This is Felice Renee, host of Community Matters, right here on Shout 94.7 FM. Submit your public service announcements or church events to be included in the WAAW Community Happenings. Fax your announcements to 803-641-8844 or email them to waawnews@gmail.com. You can also mail them to WAAW at 2166 Park Avenue, Southeast Aiken, South Carolina, 29801.
Do you have a favorite gospel song? Or one, a song that really speaks to you?
Depends on the day.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
There's not any specifically in my mind right this minute.
Awesome. Okay. Shout 94.7.
Oh, yes. How you doing, Miss Donna?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I have a question for the lady that you have on talking about the homeless.
Yes. Do you want to go over the air, or you just want to talk to her?
It don't make a difference.
Okay. Hold on for a minute. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna put you through. Now, 1 minute.
This is CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers and author of the New York Times best-selling book, My Vanishing Country. And you're listening to Power Hour with Donna Moore Westby on WAAW Shout 94.7 FM.
Welcome back inside of Power Hour with me, Donna Moore Wesby, right here on your station for inspiration and empowerment information, WAAW Shout 94.7 FM. Here in the studio, I'm telling you an awesome discussion today with my guest, Miss Lorana Hughes, with A Stool at the Table, Sustainable Living Housing Program. Before we get back into our discussion, we do have a caller who has called in. Thank you so much for tuning in to Power Hour. Do you have a question or comment today?
Yes, I have a question. I know she works in Carolina, right? But I have a daughter that's been homeless for 6 months. And she have a housing voucher. She have a lot of illness. But she's having a problem finding somewhere to live at because all of the people are selling their houses.
You're exactly right. As a matter of fact, ma'am, they talked about that on the news just last night. And we're going to let our guest kind of address that, and then we may have to deal with you specifically, call you back after. But Ms. Lorana.
So yeah, definitely. The issue that she brings up, it sounds like someone who has a Section 8 voucher, which is a subsidy voucher that assists with rental payments. From what I know about the housing situation in our community, there are less and less landlords willing to accept that form of payment. Our program is an unsubsidized program, and so we are not a program that is involved in the voucher program. These are individuals who direct pay for the services that they receive. That is a challenge in Aiken. I think it's a growing challenge in other areas, but specifically in Aiken and Aiken County, there are less and less individuals who will accept that voucher. And some of the challenges that we're faced is what are the challenges causing that individual to need the subsidies? Is that an underemployment issue? Is it training and education that's needed to be able to bring them to a point where they're able to provide for their own housing needs? Many landlords right now are requiring an individual or a family household to have earnings 3 times the rent. Many landlords are requiring individuals to have a credit score of at least 600 to even be able to qualify for housing. And so those are real challenges. This program doesn't have a solution for it. Those are real challenges in our community. Those are some of those challenges that are addressed or that involve individuals who may not be able to afford solutions to their program, to their situations.
Mm-hmm.
In these cases, this is an individual who may not be able to afford housing on their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge. That's one of those more complicated challenges.
Right, one of those levels.
Part of our strategy with this is these are individuals that can afford the housing and case management, the coaching that they need. And if we remove them from the social service roles, from needing assistance from programs like that, it frees up resources for us to be able to use to deal with some of the more complicated problems, issues that we're going to have to, as a community, supplement to be able to find solutions for. So this doesn't fix everything. That is a real problem. Some of those challenges that create that situation probably will need to be addressed. The other is looking at communities where individuals can live affordably. Right now, because of those kinds of situations and the rising cost of housing, City of Aiken County may price some people out. Mm-hmm. And that's just the reality. Some of the neighboring county areas, but then we get into things like transportation and preference. And preference. Not everybody may want to go live in North or Barnwell or Allendale or some of the other areas of our region where housing costs may be more affordable.
That's right, ma'am. It's if you don't mind, give us a call back once we sign off at 1 o'clock, so that we can get some specifics and direct you to some resources to share with your daughter, okay?
One resource would be SC Housing Search. SC Housing Search is an online website that has a list of information for housing seekers. And so that would be one resource that individuals can go to online. They can just Google SC Housing Search. I believe it's schousingsearch.com. And that would provide them with some additional resources. And they also list subsidized housing that has subsidies attached to it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for calling. We will definitely keep you all lifted up in prayer. But there are some resources available. And it's just about trying to get you connected and then being willing, your daughter, being willing to do those things that are necessary in order to get those resources, okay? As Ms. Lorana said, it's some choices that one will have to make. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for calling in. God bless you. All right. Phone lines, of course, are still open, 803-641-6497 or 803-641-6499. All right, Miss Lorana, in a country where we proclaim that we are the best in the world, billions upon billions of dollars, people, billionaires and millionaires, we can create devices where we can watch each other all over the world just off of our phones, yet we have homelessness. What is homelessness and what contributes to it, to why we can't fix it?
So many issues. You'd have to start with why are people homeless, and it's for a number of reasons. It could be, we've talked for years about living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens when that paycheck stops?
Yes.
Some parts of it are economic. There's some resources that are happening in South Carolina to assist with that, but we saw some of those things happen during COVID to a greater number of individuals in our community, people whose jobs had been stable.
Yeah.
Would not have thought about being in any kind of economic turmoil, and all of a sudden that was shaky ground. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as a crisis in your life that economically hits you. And it could be, with people teetering on the economic edge, it could be something like a flat tire that keeps you from being able to get to work. It could be something like a trip to the emergency room or the hospital, and you've got to decide to buy a prescription. There's a lot of things. And in Aiken, some of the housing market changes that are happening. A landlord sells a property, and because of no fault of your own, you're now searching without savings. Mm-hmm. It's very challenging to get into housing. And so what we're seeing in this community is if an individual doesn't have a deposit, the thing that's keeping them from being actually unsheltered is they may be staying in a hotel. They may go and stay in a hotel where they can pay a week at a time or a night at a time.
Yes.
And go work and take income from their working and be able to pay for another night. Or they'll stay with family or other individuals that they may know. A friend that says that you can come and stay for a little while. And so you couch hop for a while.
One of the things that I want to interject before we take the caller is oftentimes people who are not homeless want to quickly judge those who are, and they judge the thought, well, they must have made some bad decisions in their lives, or they all of these other negatives. When you've just stated, there are some things that sometimes happen out of an individual's control that leaves them in this predicament. And
there are a lot of issues that are within their control. We've got addiction, we've got intellectual disabilities, we've got mental health issues, we've got life trauma, as I explained, that in all of our lives oftentimes keep us from being our best self. If you add all of those things up, and in the past 2 years, we've dealt with economic teetering, we've dealt with civil unrest, we've dealt with pandemic, we've dealt with natural disasters. So you add any one of those and all four of those to the mix of what's happening in life, and life is hard. Life is a struggle.
For a lot of people.
And so if it's simply depression that keeps you from being able to get up and be productive, all of these things are swirling. And so part of that is a challenge to say, is that productive energy and figuring out the issues without relationship? Because sometimes you can find out a mix of what some of the issues are by having relationships with people versus making assumptions.
There you go.
The assumptions don't take us anywhere usually.
They don't get us anywhere. We have a caller, and I want our listeners to know that after this caller, Ms. Ronna Hughes is going to give us the contact information for, as well as the specifics to how you can qualify for a stool at the table, and what is all a part of the program. And then I'm going to read a text that I got just on last night. Caller, thanks so much for your patience. You are live on the air inside of Power Hour. Do you have a question or comment today?
Yes, I do. I have a comment. My name is Dave McRae, former Grand Marshal of Aiken, South Carolina. And what I can't understand is they say the resources that always that's all we do every day. There's no more resources available. I'm trying to figure out how can they run out so quickly. And all the community leaders, I go to meetings and stuff, and I see not too many people of color there. And they complain when stuff come up. And I'm trying to figure out what they're doing as a yourself.
Very good, very good, very good comment, Brother Dave McRae. As a matter of fact, you have been on the front lines as a veteran. Happy Veterans Day to you. And also proclaiming another part of the problem that we're talking about today is a lot of homeless veterans.
There are. I mean, homelessness is an issue. And one of the things that this program seeks to pair with solutions to the need is that we need assistance. In looking at the homeless population, there's a lot that you have to do once you've gotten to the point of being homeless. Searching for housing, sometimes it's securing income. There's a lot of motion that's required. If you don't have transportation in this community, that's challenging. There's a lot that it takes to be able to stabilize. If you're a veteran suffering with PTSD or other kinds of both physical and or mental issues, it's challenging. If you're an individual with no mental health issues, just life, it's challenging. There's the motion of it. There's applications. I've seen some applications here in the community. There's a subsidized housing, apartments, and the application by itself is 40-some pages.
Yes.
40-some pages. And so for a senior citizen trying to fill this out or do this online, it's challenging. And so part of this, part of our program is about the idea that there's some people that need some support.
Yeah, that's exactly
They need
right.
some support to do life.
Let's talk specifically about how does one apply for a stool at the table, and then what comes with those services.
So part of the initial approach would be to reach out to us by phone or by email. We do an initial interview over the phone that provides some basic information about the program. It talks about current openings that we may have. And then if it sounds like something that the individual is interested in and they meet some of the requirements. So for instance, if an individual doesn't have income, they would not be appropriate for this particular program. We send them the application. The application goes through some of their personal history. It goes through some of their goals where we evaluate whether or not our program can serve them well. If they go through that process and it looks like a good fit, where it's a good match for us, individuals are required to do a housing background search. There's a cost for that. We use an online service. It's a $40 cost that does their background check. It does a criminal check. It looks at their eviction history, and it looks at their income and ability to be able to pay. And once that's done, we try to pair them with in one of our houses that is a good mix.
What's the phone number?
So they can reach us at 803-443-6735. They can reach out to us by email at RePioneeringChurch@gmail.com. So it's RePioneering, RePioneeringChurch@gmail.com. They can also reach out and find RePioneering Church on Facebook and send a message. I'm also very easy to reach out to. My name's LaRonna. It's not that complicated to find me, so they can reach out on Facebook or reach out to me through the agency.
Give that phone number again.
803-443-6735.
One of the particulars of this program that might cause some people not to apply to their detriment is with having to participate in life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you have very well articulated, a lot of times just the physical part of not having your own dwelling is just a little piece of the pie. That's just like that, almost like the end result, so to speak. But whether it's decisions, whether it was lack of education, needing mental health, all of these other things. So sometimes, though, people don't want to accept what is required in order to get the benefit of what they really are asking for.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to those choices.
We respect choices. We respect choices. If individuals right now, if they're seeking housing, and especially the group that this program is catered towards, which is relatively low-income individuals, nothing stops them from being out there in the open market here in our community and meeting their needs on their own. Our program says that support is a part of the program. It's one of the things, Kung Fu Panda, it's the magic sauce. It's part of it. Now, it's not the everything.
Right.
Because people have needs even greater than that, and there's still choices, life choices, that are even a part of just everyday living. If an individual is not interested in the paired coaching, this isn't a program that's appropriate for them. This is something that individuals have to volunteer for. This is about choices. Our program is intended to be available for those who do recognize their need for support.
I love it.
We're not interested in forcing someone to say, well, here's some housing and we're going to make you do. No. We want individuals who say, I need housing. I need it to fit my budget, and I need some help.
That's
I need
right.
just some help to make sure that I'm on the right path. And so our coaching team, which includes a nursing coach that also comes in, we do kind of whole life assessments to be and make recommendations based on goals that individuals have. We don't set the goals. We talk with individuals about what their hopes are, and that's some of the application process. So for some individuals, it may be stabilizing. They need to be on their job long enough so that they've got a 3-month work history, so a landlord would consider their application for private living. Some individuals don't like that we have shared housing options. We don't have solutions for everything. We say this is something that we can provide a solution for, and for those who choose to pair these services together, we do have a solution for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to wrap up today's awesome discussion, I want to share a text I received just on last night. Now, the person who wrote me had no idea that you were going to be my guest today. But through Umoja Village, which you are a part of, we share the availability of this program. And she says, I informed one of my sister's friends about the sustainable living housing. She is desperately looking for a place to stay. My sister told me she called and talked to Miss Hughes, and things were looking really good for her. Keep up the good work, and may the Lord bless you real good. And I pass that on to you because of you and those landlords. Shouts out to those landlords who are willing to work with you and helping to deal with the housing issue that we all face. I'm going to have you back. Go ahead.
So one of the other things that people often ask me, because not everybody's homeless.
Yes.
That's not everyone's issue of concern. One of the other ways that we're reaching out to community, and I'd like to just take a moment to talk about that, is part of our vision. Part of our vision is to place additional beds in service, and our goal is to place beds in service so that an individual that's on a Social Security or disability budget can afford. And one of the ways that we are seeking to do that is to find community partners. We've got some opportunities to acquire some additional properties, and we've got ways that individuals in our community can make an investment on a loan platform to be able to help us fund additional units, specifically units that will keep our cost point down for individuals on Social Security or disability to be able to afford, because that's a big unmet need right now. And so we've got some information that I'll leave with you. If individuals who may be investment minded are interested in pairing with us in that way, we've got a vehicle, because part of this is being an unsubsidized program, is to figure out where our resources are. We've got individuals in our community who can afford to invest the $12,500 to be able to allow us to acquire additional properties that'll stay at the cost point, so that we can meet this need for a larger portion of the community. So individuals can be involved in that way. We're also looking for individuals who will partner with us as volunteer godparents and come and be a part of the lives of some of our individuals to be able to provide some of the social assistance and some of the real logistical assistance. Sometimes an individual could be benefited if somebody just was able to drive them to go pick up their groceries, or were able to assist them with some emotional support in those kinds of ways. And so we're looking for individuals who may be interested in volunteering as one of our godparents in the program as well. And so this is something that individuals in our community can support us in.
As well as even some of the churches,
indeed,
perhaps.
When we place new houses in service, oftentimes we reach out to the community to be able to furnish that. And so we're going to be continuing to reach out to individuals, but there's many ways that individuals can be involved with the solution.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss LaRonna Hughes with a Stool at the Table Sustainable Living Housing Program. 803-443-6735. Again, 803-443-6735. We're going to have to end it right there. We will have you back. For additional details, go to also umojavillage.com. We're going to have the information there. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just one layer to try to address the issue of homelessness. Do your part. Learn about it. Don't just do nothing, okay? When we have the resources to be able to do something. God bless you.
Thank
Miss
you for the
Lavada.
invitation.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for making us think. Because when we are much better together. And I pray in the name of Jesus that somebody was able to pick up something here today that can help somebody else. This has been Donna Moore Wesby with Power Hour right here on WAAW Shout 94.7. God bless you.